Welcome to the Lead Machine Growth Show. I'm Paul Guyan, your host. Today, we're talking about what actually happens after a lead or inquiry comes in and why many businesses lose revenue in that gap. The show is about businesses, how they actually grow through better systems, leadership, and execution. Andy, it's great to have you here. Andy is the CEO and co-owner of Creatively Disruptive,
There
an
you go.
Ashworth strategy. And he's the creator of CAI, an AI-powered CRM designed to improve lead management and conversions, which we're going to dive in and talk about that in just a second here. He works with service-based business and niche markets to build high converting systems that scale without adding chaos, which I really just love the topic. So,
Yes,
Andy, welcome to the show. We finally made it in
we
front,
finally
face to
did.
face.
Hey, and I
So,
thank you for rescheduling last week. I caught COVID last week, so it was
oh
a
my
good.
gosh,
I was gonna muscle through it, and you saved me. So thank you.
it's my pleasure. It helped me too because I had to deal with a snowstorm here in Michigan.
No worries. I'm dealing with
So
the heat wave in Arizona, so we're
I know it's like creatively disruptive, isn't it? Yeah. You're in Phoenix in the hot box, and it's 26 degrees here in Michigan. You talk about a 390% increase in conversions. What actually was broken down before, and when did you realize it wasn't a traffic problem?
I think a lot of small businesses tend to be very lead focused, traffic
Yeah,
focused. They
definitely.
want more traffic on their website. They want to be ranked number one on Google. They want blah 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 blah. So a lot of stuff that is part of a machine. If you've got 25 parts to a machine, there are three or four of them, and they tend to focus on those parts of the machine
Mhm.
to their detriment. The reality is it's not the number of leads that you get. It's not the ranking that you have on Google. It's actually what you do with those inquiries is probably more important than the actual inquiries coming in, although it is hard to do much with inquiries if you don't have them.
Yeah.
Getting them is important, but what you do with them is equally as important. And that 390% is basically how quickly you can respond to leads, right? Respond to
Hmm.
inquiries. And one of the things that the data, there's lots of actual studies and there's lots of information out there that you can actually verify these claims that if you're responding to an inquiry within 5 minutes of the inquiry happening, you do have about a 400% higher chance of closing that deal into becoming a customer, not just them answering the call, but in that lead becoming a customer, 400% better chance than if you didn't respond to them within 5 minutes. If you can respond to them within 30 seconds, even better. So after that
Hmm.
5 minutes, what oftentimes happens is they forget about that they're talking to you, they're talking to their kids, they get in the car, they drive down, go to work, blah, blah, blah. Whatever's gone on in their lives, they've moved on from that moment. And then the chase happens where you got to call them 6 or 7 times. You've got to email them, text them, phone calls, and it becomes quite hard yards to get people. There's techniques like double call where you call them, knowing that they won't probably answer, then you hang up and then you call back. That raises the chance that somebody might actually answer a call. All those tactics start coming into play, but it's heavy lifting, and a lot of times you're gonna need a lot more manpower to do it, right?
Yeah.
But if you can respond within 5 minutes, a lot of that stuff goes away. And the problem with responding in 5 minutes is we find in the service industry business, and I would say 60% of our business is kids activity focused, and 40% is home services and so forth, and local kind of service type businesses. All of them operate the same way. Most of the leads, funnily enough, come in times when businesses aren't open. So a lot of times, let's say kids activity centers, a lot of times kids activity centers are busy between, let's say 12 o'clock and 8 o'clock at night, right? Most of the leads don't, funnily enough, come in during that period where people are there to man the phones, and the inquiries don't come in through that time. Many times, if you're a plumber or any kind of a landscaper or whatever your service business is, if they do call during work hours, you might be underneath the sink trying to fix
Yeah.
something. And because a lot of plumbers work for themselves and maybe have 2 or 3 employees, even the large entities, they're busy with other stuff. But even if they've got somebody they're paying between 9 till 5 to answer the phone, funnily enough, the majority of the leads come in when people get off work, right? When people are on,
Yeah.
especially if they're running ad campaigns through social media with Meta, Facebook, Instagram, all those Google, all those different things. The amount of traffic tends to go up after work, right? When they get home and they're like, oh, the sink's not working again, or oh, I need this fixed, or the dimmer switch isn't working. I need to call the electrician, or the kids are driving me nuts. We need to get them involved with something. Mums oftentimes will start scrolling and looking at their phones once the kids have gone to bed. That's after 8 o'clock. We see a big uptick in the kids' activity center leads coming through after 8 o'clock at night. Most times the businesses are closed and wrapped up for the night, but you got to answer within 5 minutes. Otherwise you get put into that hard yards game, right? Same with the plumber, right? You get a lot more people calling after maybe he's clocked off for the day, or he's under a sink, or he's busy getting a quote or talking to somebody else. If you don't answer within that 5 minutes, again, you're going to have to start chasing it down. And what ends up happening, especially from a plumber standpoint, is if you don't get them quickly, they've called someone else and you've lost them. So
Yeah.
that's where the AI kind of stuff does start coming in. It's going to sound a bit self-serving because we obviously run this kind of thing. But what's wonderful about the AIs of today compared to, I'm sure you know all about the bots that we were all making 6-7 years ago, where we were making bots. And the bots were, if a client asked this, the bot will ask these 2 questions. And it was very programmatic. And if there was a problem that the client had that was outside of the parameters of the bot, it didn't work, and it became frustration. And people would just, I just want to talk to somebody.
Give me a human.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The beauty of AI now, especially with the language models, and when you can utilize software systems, because we utilize a mixture of Claude and ChatGPT with what we do. When you're using the language models, you can actually train the AI to actually talk like a person and actually have a conversation. And we've actually had clients tell us that the AI was dealing with an angry parent or an angry customer, and the AI actually was able to calm the customer down and then help them and solve the problem, and actually take a customer from being angry to being compliant and agreeable, and then book in a time for somebody to come over and visit, or for them to come into the location and get the final solution made. And that's something that's somewhat new, right? So that started to happen about 2 years ago, but it's really starting to kick in over the last 6 months, I'd say, where the reality is we have some clients that want their clients to know that they're talking to an AI, and we have other clients that don't want their clients to know that they're talking to an AI. And we had one situation with a gymnastics gym actually in California, where a grandmother was talking to the AI, and the grandmother was enjoying the conversation so much, she started sending photos of her grandkids to the AI saying, hey, this is who I want to sign up to. And funnily enough, the AI was responding with, oh, how beautiful, how wonderful. You must be so proud of your grandkids. To the point where when the actual booking of the appointment came down, the grandmother said, hey, this has been so lovely. I'm really looking forward to speaking to you, Julie, because our client named the AI Julie. And Julie said, I'd love to meet you, but I won't be able to. And the grandma said, why is that? And the AI said, because I'm not a real person, I'm an AI. And the grandma was like, what? What? And then the AI was talking to her. And then thankfully the grandmother was like, you know what? I'm really excited to visit your location, because if this is my first experience, this has been top notch, and I really like where this has gone. We're now at a point where we can answer that call or that text or that inquiry within 5 minutes, within 30 seconds oftentimes, and actually feel very warm, and we can create the way that person talks to fit the culture of your business, where we can really kick off the experience of the client in the way that you want your clients to get it right off the bat, and increase the conversion rate by about 400%.
Yeah. And I think the interesting thing about that story there, Andy, is what happened was the AI, first of all, the immediate response, and then the conversation that ensued, whether it be via text or instant messenger or voice, it built trust immediately. And I write and teach about speed to trust,
Yep.
because which is part of the equation. Speed. Uh, First of all, the immediate response is an impact. When someone responds to you right away when you inquire, that does one of two things. It annoys you, or it goes, wow, they're really on top of it. And then you have this conversation that builds trust. So right there, you've added, like, amplified the speed, the impact, and the trust factor within the first 5 minutes. And one thing that was curious to me, how do you feel about disclosing whether you're an AI or not? Do you think you should be more transparent about that?
Yeah, personally, I don't think it really matters either way. I think for us, if you were to reach out to us, our AI would actually respond and talk to you. We don't say, hey, you're speaking to our AI servant or our AI system. We just say, hey, thanks for reaching out to us. This is Kai from Creatively Disruptive. We call it KAI from Creatively Disruptive. How can we help you? Or what you asked us about this, or you responded to this ad, or blah, 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 whatever, wherever the medium comes in, because we can help the AI respond in a way that is custom to the way that the person reached out, which is another system that we developed. I think it's a pretty proprietary development. Is my business partner, some years ago, I would say probably 7 or 8 years ago, before AI really started coming in, was trying to figure out, there's got to be, he felt that there was a better way than just generating leads, right? Because leads meaning forms that get filled out and so forth, because a lot of people don't like doing that. It's almost like trying to date a girl and take her straight to third base, right? There's got to be some finesse. There's got to be,
Yeah.
sometimes people aren't.
Digital foreplay. That's what we call it.
Sometimes people want to go to first base first. They don't want to go all the way. They don't want to give you all their information or whatever. So what we figured out was a thing called the amplify method, which allowed a client to respond to you in whatever medium and whatever way they felt most comfortable. So it's much more likely, Paul, that if we allow you to respond to us in the platform or the way that you're most comfortable, there's much higher likelihood that you're going to respond to us, or at least reach out to us, right? If we're going to force you into doing something that you're uncomfortable with, there's a good chance that we'll lose you. So that's what the amplify method is. And that would mean there's going to be some people that would rather call and actually speak to someone. There's going to be some people that'd rather email. There'd be some people that would rather fill out a form. There'd be others that want to text. There'd be others that want to send a messenger message through Instagram or Facebook or whatever. And Instagram or Facebook is possibly the lowest, I guess, friction point, because they don't have to give anything. They feel like, I don't have to give my phone number and get texted, get put on a list, or my email and get put on a list, or my phone number and get called or whatever. But we give the client 5 or 6 different ways to reach out, whatever way is easiest for them. The problem with that is that on our end, when you've got a client that is being reached out by its clients by 5 or 6 different ways, you've got to monitor 5 or 6 different platforms and systems. And that's where it all started from. And then from there, our problem was that our clients were complaining that they were having to manage text, Instagram message, all these different forms of people being able to reach out. They were getting a lot more inquiries than ever before, which was what the amplified method does, but they were finding it really difficult to manage. In fact, we lost a couple of clients when we were like, you're getting these inquiries, and they're like, yeah, but we can't manage it, and my staff is getting overwhelmed and frustrated. This is just not for us. We're gonna move on. We're like, okay, we've taken you from 20 inquiries a month to 95. Let's look at the system. So that's where the Kai came in, whereas like Kai can actually plug into all of these different ways and respond to it directly. And the reality is, getting back to your question, I don't think people care as much about whether it's AI or not, as much as they care about the solution and the reason why they're calling, and are they getting to a solution or a service that they're getting the answers that they want, right? If you're calling up I don't know, a landscaping company and you want to know how much it will cost to get, or when can you get a quote done or whatever, you just want to know, when can I get someone over to get a quote done? You're not, do you really care if it's an AI, especially if you can't tell, especially if it feels like someone's
No.
talking to you. So I wouldn't never say to somebody, no, pretend that it's a human. I would never tell a client that. And at the same time, I wouldn't say, hey, no, it's very important for you to tell everybody that it's an AI. I don't think it matters as much as how do we quickly get the person that's reached out to you to the solution that they want in a way that they feel most comfortable. That's really all that matters. And if somebody was to ask that question to me, that would be my simple answer.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Simple answer.
I give you a long, huge
Yep.
story with that answer.
Yeah. But it sounds interesting. When a business comes to you struggling with growth, what breakdown is usually happening? Is it that do you have to, you probably have to teach them a little bit, but uh, is it the follow up, their systems,
Oh yeah.
leadership?
I would
What is
say
it?
there are companies that they'll say, oh yeah, we live in word of mouth. Those are companies that are
Yeah.
usually just chiggly-choggling along. They're not really doing particularly, they're not doing poorly, but they're not doing as well as they could do. They're relying on somebody saying something nice about them, and they basically, their business is in the hands of someone else, right? So their business is in the hands of somebody that, hopefully somebody's looking for the service at the same time and is prepared to say something nice about us. Unfortunately, most people aren't prepared to say nice things about anybody, not because they're mean or nasty or don't want to say something nice, but they're just busy. It's not, there's a lot less people that are likely to go, oh, you're looking for landscaping? Oh, we have a landscaper. Here's all this information, blah, blah, blah. They might hear that someone's looking for landscaping and they might not say anything. They just don't get around it. So the problem with that is that you put your future into the hands of your customers. And that, to me, whilst that's a nice benefit, if you do a really good job, I want my future in my hands. So there's two types of customers. There's the ones that are like that, and they need to do lead generation. They need to do reach out. They need people to know that they exist. They need to put some effort into reaching out to the community. And some people call it marketing. In my business, in the service industry business, in the local business, I call it reaching out, like communicating effectively with your community, right? Because you can communicate effectively with your community, and it doesn't always have to be marketing, but it does mean that all those people, all those households know that you exist. So once you get that going, which a lot of people do, right? And you've got a lot of clients that probably are generating leads and so forth, but that's just, like I said, 4 or 5 parts of a 20-part machine. If you're not actually doing anything with those inquiries, once you start getting them, like, which is what we had with some of our clients that left 6 or 7 years ago because they were so overwhelmed. If you're not doing anything with all those inquiries, then you're spending money for these inquiries and it's not turning into dollars, which is very frustrating for the client and is equally frustrating for us. So what we found is follow up once for probably 75% of the businesses, because I think only about 25% are in the service-based business are relying on word of mouth. The follow-up is what 75% of businesses really struggle with. Yeah. And it's not getting in touch with somebody within 5 minutes. It's maybe getting in touch within 5 minutes, leaving a phone number and then just waiting, because that client's probably listening to your voicemail over and over again and really considering whether or not to call. No, you've got to call and call and call and call because people are busy. People aren't thinking about you, especially if it's a service-based business like a plumber or an electrician or something like that, because oftentimes the first guy to actually speaking to the customer wins the war, right? So if your follow-up is not really high, really on top of it, you're going to lose a lot of it, especially when you're working with Amy's List and Angie's List.
Angie's List. Yeah.
Angie's List and so forth, where Angie will sell, a lead will come in and it will go out to 4 or 5 service providers. Whoever gets in touch with that lead first and actually speaks with them probably has an 80% chance of them doing business, right? There's an old adage. I used to be my first job in the United States was working for CarMax, the auto company. They sell used cars. And there was a lot of data that when somebody starts looking for a car, what ends up happening is, let's put my hand down there. When someone starts looking for a car, if the first one that they go into, the first dealership that they go into, they've got like a 70% chance that they're going to buy from that. The second place that they go into is about 20%, the third maybe about 5%, and the rest maybe in the 1% chance that they're going to purchase from you. How quickly you respond to the lead, how quickly you respond to the inquiry, how effective you are in fulfilling their need at that moment tends to be the winning and the losing for people, for companies. And those that really invest in that tend to have tremendous success. Those that don't and feel like, oh, people should, like we once had a client in Chicago, and it was like a beauty kind of client. So it was a med spa. That's what it was.
Uh-huh.
And we were getting them lots of inquiries. And again, it was a situation of our staff aren't used to all these inquiries. And quite frankly, if somebody's reaching out to us, they should be ready to do business with us. And if we are having to work at getting their business, then they're not the right clients for us. And we're like, okay, so you can't have that attitude. You've got to reach out. You've got to show an interest in your client. You've got to do whatever is needed to get it over the line. And that's what I see as the breakdown is people tend to think, okay, I should get leads and they should just turn into business. No, you've got work to do. That's the beginning of your job. It's a little bit like if you had a store and someone walks through your door, that's what the lead is. It's like someone walked through the door, but are you going to sell something to them? That's going to be down to your sales team. That's going to be down to how good your product or service is. That's where your job starts. And I think that's where a lot of small businesses struggle, especially service-based. Like, again, going to that plumber, he might be really good at plumbing. He might not be good at talking to people.
Right.
So what are you doing about that to make sure that you're really busy? Would be my question.
Yeah, my plumber is a real soft, mild-mannered guy. He's busy because of word of mouth.
Right.
I've talked to him about this very topic, and he said, I'm fine right now. I'm going to retire soon. But he did just buy a brand new vehicle. So he's going to be in it for a while. So while you're in it, why don't you do something about it? So when I talk about that, that just leads me to leadership. So what kind of leadership mindsets do you and help to repair or hold them up so that they can see the light? Because that, like you said, the first 5 minutes is critical. If it's almost 400%, a leader would want to know that. And if they don't believe it, or if they don't see proof of that, they need to change their mindset is really what I'm saying. So what kind of mindset adoption do they need to have to teach their salespersons to say, hey, those inquiries are the work that you need to do, and maybe I need to invest in some structure. So what kind of things you some pushback, and what do you think about?
I would say this is going to sound really silly, but if you think about it, it makes a lot of sense. And it's like, yeah, okay. So there's a lot of people that will call us, and they call us kind of it's the final thing. They're like, oh my gosh, we've been trying, we're struggling so much. Our business is failing. We're SOS, please come, emergency, blah, 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 blah. And we have to come and we have to fix things. And then we're talking to them and we're going through, okay, here's what works. Like we've got 120 service type businesses. We're not a huge company, but we're large enough. 120 is a decent number. We've got a lot of data over the years that shows this is what works. And what I find, the clients that struggle and are unfixable, so to speak, because almost every client is fixable. The ones that are unfixable is that they don't seem to understand that they've called us because they want something to change. So they want change to happen. Yet change only happens when you change things. Change only happens when things change. And a lot of times they'll come in and it'll be like, this is how we've always done it. We want to do it this way, but we want you to fix it. So that we want to not do what you're doing because what you've been doing has not worked. And we want to do it this way because we know this works for 100 other clients that are similar to yours. So let's do it that way. We don't like doing that. Like we've had anything from, let's say, a kids activity center will say, hey, here's a free class. We know free classes bring parents through the door. We know free classes turn into more sales. And we'll get a kids activity center to say, we don't want to do free trials. And we're like, we know from a factual, mathematical analytical standpoint that you do free trials and you do it this way, and we fill up those free trial classes. And if you convert half of them into clients, that you'll make X number of dollars, and they'll get so hung up on the other half that don't convert that they don't want to do the free trial class. I'll be like, that's a waste of time. They got a free trial, a free class, and we blah, blah. But you got 4 that wouldn't have, and they can't get that. So having a leader that understands that change doesn't happen without change and that they're open to change, number one, right? You want something to change in your business, be very open to making the changes that are needed to have those changes happen. In our industry, Paul, I think it's really important to know that there's a lot of shysters out there. I promised you that I wouldn't swear, so I'll use shyster. I'll use German. There's a lot of people out there that say they know a lot about things and really don't know anything, and they're pretty useless, and they'll take your money and run. And there's a lot of agencies, especially, that have a model of, let's have a customer for 3 months, and if we can get a customer to stay and pay 3 months of service fees, we've won, and we'll just keep getting more. And what they're really good at is just advertising their services and selling their services. They're not actually very good at delivering on their services. So with that in mind, for a small business, which can be very frustrating too, you've got to be very thoughtful about who you're hiring from an agency standpoint. I think it's very important for you to vet them and get a sense as to whether or not they're very interested in your success and what that means to you, and measuring that. We go in depth. I won't even go into it, but if anybody wants to call us from this, you'll find that we don't just try to sell you and send you a contract. There's a real process that's involved with bringing you on as a client, with really finding out whether or not we can help you, and finding out what is success. What is your measurement of success? What is success to you? And we drill it down sometimes to the point of, do you have kids that you want to send to college? If you do, okay, you need to get X number of jobs per month to be able to afford that. This is what we need to do. We need to get you this amount of inquiries, and that amount of inquiries needs to close at this amount of closures, and you need to be selling that business at this amount of money. We'll go through that whole process, and you want to look for agencies that are that interested in drilling down into your business and actually finding out what meaningful change is. Because a lot of times clients will come in and say, I need something fixed, or I'm not happy with something, and they'll talk about the peripherals. All right, we need more leads, we need more inquiries, blah, blah, blah. But like you said, they haven't really addressed, well, if we get a lot of inquiries, who's calling them back? If we got this thing set up and we're getting this amount of people to this part of the funnel, what are the salespeople like? Are they good at closing business? Do they need training? Getting back to your original question, having a leader that's willing to change, that's open to digging into their business and looking for an agency or a partner that's helping you with it, that's willing to pull up the sleeves of their shirt and actually dig into your business with you, and being able to spot that agency that's willing to do that is really, in my mind, probably a key thing, especially in this business. If you're not looking to hire an agency, an outside agency, or somebody, you're trying to do it yourself, it's about understanding that whatever you're doing right now that's causing you the frustration isn't working, and you need to do different things. Don't hold on to what you've always done. In this world where things are changing so quickly, the stuff that was working 2 years ago isn't working anymore, or a year ago isn't working anymore. So if you're holding on to processes and operation policies of 5-10 years ago, that might be your problem. So being open to change, being open to be flexible. I, to this day, every day am trying to learn new things, trying to find out new things, I have lots of conversations with lots of people. I don't do a lot of day-to-day work in the business. I have a team of people that does the day-to-day. My job is to find out what's next, find out, what don't I know? As Runfeld said, there's the knowns and the unknowns, and we know what we know, and we don't know what we don't know. But more importantly, we don't know the things we don't know, and they don't know that we don't know them. We need to get to that kind of level of figuring out what we know, what we don't know, and what we need to know. And I feel like I've spoken around in circles. Maybe it's the tail end of COVID coming in, but that would be my answer for a leadership standpoint.
Yeah. And you are a leader and you've had to change, and you've Tell us about some of maybe one of the down moments when you were building the business. You were doing things personally. And at some point, you came to the realization that you needed a team because you just said that. You said you
Yeah.
don't do it to the day to day. What was the thing that broke the camel's back, so to speak, that made that shift?
Here's the story of where things took off, right? So we started the business in 2015, and we really started it as a website development company. I was always the sales guy, and my business partner, Russell, a really good web developer, like really good web developer. So we were just selling websites, and he was good at web developing, right? Not so good at selling stuff. So I was out there going to mixes, knocking on doors, talking to people, getting on Facebook groups, just doing whatever I could to get anybody to talk to me from anywhere, right?
Mhm.
And I said to him, I was like, we've been doing this a year. We're not making a whole bunch of money, but I feel like we've got, because the people that we work with were really happy. So once we got the clients in, they were really happy. It was just the scale of clients that was just not enough. And I was spending 95% of my time trying to find someone to talk to and 5% of my time doing business with people. And I
Mhm.
think that's what a lot of businesses, especially when they're smaller, spend a lot of their time doing.
Yeah.
And what happened was in 2016, we found this group that taught how, because we were just a web development company that really taught how to get a lot out of social media marketing. So my business partner is right into that stuff, and myself. We had not a lot of money, and it was expensive. It was over $10,000 in 2015, 2016. And we're like, you know what? I said to him, if I could invert my day to spending 5% of my time trying to find someone to talk to and 95% of my time doing business, our lives will change, absolutely change. And that is what we got to figure out. And I'm like, I think that this thing that we need to learn about is something we need to invest in. And he was like, okay, let's do that. And we scrambled all of our money together, and we spent 3 months really learning the ins and outs of how Facebook works, how Google works, how the whole funnel building and driving traffic and so forth works. And back then it was very rudimentary. Even in those days, it was very different to what it is now. And all of a sudden, what happened was, instead of me spending 95% of my time trying to find someone to talk to, I had a calendar and I had a meeting every hour with a 15-minute break between it. And I was talking to 8 people a day. And all of a sudden, even though a lot of them were tire kickers, I was closing a deal a day. All of a sudden, our problem wasn't how many customers can we get, or can we get a customer? Our problem was, how do we help these customers? Because now we've got way too much business and we need
Yeah.
to start hiring people. We didn't have a customer service person. It was just me and my business partner, because usually I'd find 2 websites to get done a month and I could take care of it all. Now, if you're adding a client a day, you're at 20 websites need to be built. So
Mhm.
my next thing, funnily enough, was I hired a salesperson, because I
Wow.
focused on the client services thing. So
Mm.
I hired a salesperson who was not quite as good as I was, I don't think, but very good. And so maybe they were getting 4 sales a week instead of 5 from the eight meetings a day set up. But that was fine as far as I was concerned. But that allowed me to focus on client services.
Delivery. Yeah.
Next part of it was finding help for my business partner, because he was getting overwhelmed with having all these websites that had to be built. And that became how our business grew, right? It became, we unplugged the biggest problem, which was, how do we get business? And then the problem that came through, which was still quite stressful, was, how do we make sure we deliver? And if I'm honest with you, when we first started, I think our client service and client happiness just did drop. The 2 that were getting taken care of each month when I was trying to find business, loved us, right? And the experience was top notch because it was just 2 people.
Hmm.
When we were having 18 clients a month, it did drop. There was more balls getting dropped. There was more difficulties. There was more, but we went from, back then when we first started, making say $10,000 a month between the 2 of us. So that was all we were making, to like 80 90,000 a month very quickly.
Yeah.
And where I started very quickly trying to pull out the next hire after we got someone to help him build the websites and we got the salesperson was to get a really good customer service person. And then I was able to pull myself out to really focus on what does the team need to fulfill. And I then was able to get to that point where I was working on our business rather than on our clients' businesses, because I started pulling out and filling in those gaps. And that was how we got to where we are today and there was a little bit of a muscle up moment. That muscle up moment was while I was selling and I was having to sell, I was selling all of these new websites, but I was also managing, I had 8 calls a day to get on, sales calls a day, and I was managing the client services side. That was the muscle up moment. That was the 80 hours a week work that was going on. And that was a short period of time, but that little muscle up moment allowed me to hire a salesperson. And getting that salesperson meant that because our lead system was running so well, that salesperson could keep the steady flow coming through, which meant that when I had got distracted to move on to something else in the business that needed it, the sales didn't drop because I wasn't no longer taking sales. The sales kept coming.
Yeah.
And then that allowed me to go, okay, need a client services person, need more production people. And then as we saw the needs, I was able to focus on what did the team need? What tools do they need? What more hires do we need? And then all of a sudden to today where we've got a team of 20, we've got 5 in our client services team full-time. We've got 3 in our sales team. We've got 13, not including my business partner, in our production team running ads, website development, the whole 9 yards. 2 people in our AI department, making sure that the AI is operating and helping our clients with the AI. None of that stuff I have any interest in doing. What I'm interested in now is, do my team have what they need? And I'm even getting to the point that we've got a general manager, and her role is actually, what does the team need? My role now is, what's next? And I use the analogy, Paul, I know I'm being long-winded with a lot of the stuff, but I use the analogy of when you first start a business, it's like owning a yacht and you're having to be the helmsman, the crew, you're pulling up the sails, you're swabbing the decks, you're trying to make sure that you're headed into the wind, you're doing all the stuff, blah, blah, blah. And it feels quite crazy and you don't feel like you're really getting anywhere, but you're working your butt off. Then as your business grows, you get to the point where you realize, man, I need to be in a big old boat and I need to be in the captain's room. The captain's room is not the captain is not the helmsman. The helmsman is at the wheel of the boat. You've got your crew who are running, making sure that the ship is running as a good machine. And the captain is in the captain's room with the charts. And the captain is like, the boat is here. There's rocks here. There's an island over here. That's the port that we need to get to. And we're here and we're going to go like this. And that is what, as business owners, we need to get to. Otherwise, what ends up happening is your boat just tends to just wiggle around in the same place and doesn't actually have any point of direction. Most businesses don't have a goal. And the businesses that do have a goal tend to have captains in the captain room with charts in front of them, not captains standing at the helm or swabbing decks or pulling up sails. And as soon as you've got a business that has a goal and you know how to get there, crazy, funny things happen with those businesses. They suddenly become successful and they suddenly hit those goals. They suddenly go to destinations. They suddenly fulfill people's dreams. And from 2016 till today, our lives totally changed financially, asset-wise, personally, our business, freedom, time freedom. I've got more free time than ever before, and I get to choose what I want to do with it. Do I have to get on a call at 9 o'clock in the morning? No. I've got staff that have to do that. Do I get up and get to work and work on stuff? Yeah, because I feel like I've got stuff that I want to do and I've got goals that I want to set and I've got things that I want to accomplish, but I get to do that in the captain's room. So
yeah,
there you go.
So I was going to ask you, I think you just answered it though, but what was one big lesson you learned about building a real business that took a long time to learn?
The big one is being okay with other people doing things that 80% of what you could do. So
And that's okay,
it's okay.
because over time they get better at it, and you can then step out and coach them. And if I assume that you've created systems and standard operating procedures and all kinds of things like that, training and a feedback loop to accomplish what you've accomplished. And
Yeah.
so, and
And,
this
and
isn't just for what you do, this is for what our listeners can do, right?
yeah, and it's not even really important that they become better than you at it. What's important is that they are consistent at it, and that if like, give you the example of, I was getting a sale a day, 5 days a week, right? I didn't work on Saturdays and Sundays, but Monday through Friday, I'd get a sale a day out of those 8 calls. My salesperson that came on, I'm pretty sure they got about 4 out of the same amount of calls. So that was 80% as good as I could do. But you know what? They were getting 18 sales a month or 16 sales a month for us, and I didn't have to do it. I could work on
Yeah.
other things, right?
Right.
I could make
Mhm.
other things better. I could get better at other things, and left them to make decisions, empowering the staff. One of probably the biggest underrated things that people, especially founders of businesses, tend to do is they tend to micromanage. They tend to not allow their staff to make decisions. And I have a rule with my staff. So there's 3 rules. There is a swear word in this, so I'll change the swear word to be a non-swear word. So first off is, what have we done to delight a customer today? That's the decision. Whenever any staff member is making a decision without me or my business partner, they go through this process. What have we done to delight a customer today? Am I doing everything within my power to do the best job I can? And am I not effing over the company? By doing this, am I going to mess up the company? Am I going to cause harm to the company by making this decision? If I'm not going to cause harm to this company by making this decision, I am doing everything within my power to do the best job I possibly can. And by doing this thing, I'm going to delight a customer. That's the right decision. And
Love it.
let them at it. And you know what? When they make the mistakes, they learn from them so much better when they're their mistakes. And I can sit down with them and go, hey, maybe next time, instead of doing that, do this. I've also learned that I don't think I've got any employees that could make a singular decision and put us out of business. It might cost us a little bit of money, but that usually, if you hire well, they make that one decision, and that decision doesn't happen again. They learn from it.
Yeah,
So,
that's great. When your hand goes up,
yeah, it's
that's the A. I should turn that thing off. That's great. Wow. Is there anything that, before we wrap up, what are 3 things that someone listening could do to improve their conversions without adding more traffic?
we just spoke about it, right? So what are you
Yeah.
doing with the current traffic that you've got going on? Really look at it and go, okay, let's say if you got no traffic, you've got to add traffic. But let's say you're getting
Yeah.
traffic, getting 100 people that are potentially customers of yours, and they are reaching out to you. What are you doing with them? How are you doing it? Are they reaching out to you and you reach out to them tomorrow, the next morning? Are you just calling them back? A lot of people now, especially if they're younger, are not going to respond to a phone call. They're not going to answer the phone call. They're not going to respond. Are you texting? Do you have the systems up and running, right, to be able to do it? Products like Kai allow you to plug into all of that, and it's automated and done. You can there's an app on your phone that you can log into and see it all working and responding to people and having conversations. You can still manage it and look at it. You can jump in when you feel that you need to. But what are you doing to maximize those inquiries and that traffic, so to speak, to turn it into a conversion? Because just because you got traffic doesn't mean you've got a conversion. I could have 100 people come into a showroom in a CarMax store looking for cars. If you don't have any salespeople in there that are any good, they're not going to buy any cars. If you can't at very least walk somebody from the front door of your store all the way through to checkout, you're not going to get any sale. And that's the same with websites. We see websites all the time. They're built horribly. It's confusing. It's all over the place. People lose confidence and trust, when they come up against a business like that. They start second guessing and thinking, oh man, should I really be doing business with these guys? They don't seem to know what they're doing. they're not filling me with confidence, and they drop out, right? So what are you doing with that user experience or that client experience from that point that client speaks to you? What are you doing with that? And if you're a service-based business, that starts with them calling and leaving a message or texting you or emailing you. How smooth and professional and trust building is that initial reach out, and how are all the other interactions from there? And if you start really nailing that and working that down, oftentimes you could probably improve your business by 20, 30, 40% just by maximizing what you currently have. And many businesses are so focused on the ultimate outcome or their product and service and not their sales and marketing. If you think, especially small businesses, think of a baker's thinking, how do I make an amazing cake? I'm really good at making cakes. He doesn't really think about how do I get someone through the door to buy that cake? Or when the person comes through the door, who's going to say hi to me? Because I'm in the back baking a cake. Do I have a really nice person who's going to help my client choose what cake to purchase? What is that whole experience like? Look at that. Utilize people like Paul, utilize people like me and our company to help you build that part of your business.
Yeah, and I think what you're saying in a nutshell, just before we wrap up, is a lot of businesses owners want more traffic, but they have a messy website that doesn't handle it. So if you're investing in the traffic, but your website doesn't convert and you have no idea what to do there, you've got to have both. And so before you go do the investment in the traffic, you really have to fix your website. So at least there's one way to convert customers.
So let's actually do just full on those three questions. So website, make sure your website is well built with as very little friction and there's as easy, comfortable experience that fills people with trust. Once the website is done, especially if you're a service type business, usually all that engenders is more communication. Making sure your communication is clean, concise, and quick. So that's number two. And once you've got that communication going, is it leading to the ultimate deal? Because a lot of times you can hold someone's hand, but if you're not leading them to where you want them to be and being in control of that process, they actually don't end up going to where they need to be. But taking them to the sale and asking for the money. Those three things will get you more business. The website being built, clear, concise, and frictionless. The communication being quick. What did I say? Quick, concise, and clear. And then making sure that with that process and that communication, you're taking them to a decision and you're asking them to make that decision. You do those three things.
Direct them to your offer. Right.
Yep.
Yeah. Love it. So thank you so much, Andy. I appreciate it. We went a little over, but that's great. We've got some nuggets in there for sure. You also have a special offer. So can you tell us about that in just a couple, maybe a minute or so? Let us know how to get that.
So if you reach out to us, you can reach out to us. We got multiple brands, but I'm just going to make it easy for you guys. Reach out to us through creativelydisruptive.com. A lot of it is kids activity, but if you're a plumber or whatever, we have another brand called High Level Thinkers that focuses on service-based businesses. But reach out to us at creativelydisruptive.com. It's nice and easy. And if you're interested in Kai being set up in your business, we'll give you the first month for free, and we'll give you a 3-month guarantee that you will love it, or we'll give you your money back. So there is no risk to it. And the reason why there's no risk is I know that there's no risk for us. If you truly come in and embrace it and do the hard yards and help us build it around the way that your company talks, that it will make a difference to your business, because all of a sudden, all those inquiries are responded to within about 35 instead of 5 minutes.
And be sure to mention the Lead Machine Growth Show.
Yes, you need to do that to get that deal.
Yeah. Remember, faith and action go hand in hand. So keep the pedal to the metal. Until next time on the Lead Machine Growth Show, I'm Paul Guyan. And Andy Seeley, thank you so much, my brother. I really appreciate your enthusiasm and all the value you've shared with our listeners today.
Thank you. It was my pleasure.
Pleasure was mine. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to the Lead Machine Growth Show with Paul Guyan, where we show you how to tackle your tech. master your message, and design your dream so that you can transform your vision into reality. Remember to visit our website at www.leadmachinegrowthshow.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on the Lead Machine Growth Show.